What is up, fam? It's your boy, Sunil. Thank you so much for tuning in to So Real Sports Talk. We have a very special show. I got my main man to the left of me. I guess you guys is right. But Brandon, my man Brandon from the B&E podcast. He has it marketed in his name finally. Brandon.
Finally, get together.
How you doing, my guy?
I'm doing good, man. How are you doing? Thanks for having me.
Fantastic. Of course, bro. You know, it's always an open invitation when it comes to you and the channel, man. But we got a lot to talk about, man. Free agency opened up earlier this week. A lot of rapid moves. So, I definitely want to talk about it with you. We guessed on some things we thought were going to happen, didn't happen. Some things we did think were going to happen, are going to happen. So let's talk about just overall impressions of free agency, Brandon. What did you think as far as the first week of free agency? What was your overall takeaways?
So far, I think it's been pretty good. Like it hasn't disappointed. There's been a lot of moves, a lot of action, and that's kind of what I want from free agency. I know free agency is like a longer period. It's longer than whatever the 3-day memorandum is, but I want everything done in those first 3 days. You know what I mean? Like, let me know where the big names are going. I hated, I don't remember what year it was, but there was a few years back where we had to wait for, it was probably Kawhi because we never know what the heck that guy's going to do. Right. Like,
as we're doing right now.
We'll still don't know. Yeah. Dang, I didn't even think about that. That's crazy. We still don't know where he's going yet. But yeah, like I don't want to have to wait for anything. And so that's why I've liked this so far. And I also like that teams have tried to get better. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like sometimes dudes just make moves to make moves, but like you can see like teams are trying to get better with a plan in mind.
Yeah, a lot has been talked about with the new changes in the NBA. Some people, like, we're kind of old school. The super team thing kind of is a new wave thing that LeBron kind of started in Miami. And it's here to stay now, man, because everybody seems to be creating like these super teams, and it's kind of exciting free agency wise. And like, obviously there's teams that are kind of rising to the top, and everybody's just like trying to combat the other super team. Right. So it's pretty exciting as far as that. It's kind of like how we set up our video games. Like we put all the good players
all the players on one team.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. And so that's been exciting. I think one thing that has been kind of cool is just it seems like teams are being more aggressive as far as like salary cap wise. Like there's all of these teams usually that are trying to dump salary and stuff like that. Seems like now everybody's okay with going into luxury, like paying guys, because that's the only way to be competitive now. You gotta have like 2 or 3 max players on your team to be able to compete.
Yeah, the Heat, they spend a buttload of money on just everything. Their payroll.
And the Lakers, right?
And the Lakers. Yeah,
and that's all to compete with what the Nets did. So we got a lot to talk about. Let's start off with just talking about the positive, man. So what are the moves, some of the moves that you like the best?
Now, this is probably going to shock you, but my absolute favorite move was the Suns picking up JaVale McGee.
What? Only you would pick the backup center.
Well, I'm going to tell you why, because it's the only thing needed, right? Like, what was the whole knock on them throughout the whole finals? Man, if they only had somebody to back up DeAndre Ayton. And JaVale McGee can come in for 10, 15 minutes and play a solid backup role and be cool. And so I feel like if you're getting what you need to help improve your team, that's the best kind of moves you can make. And
he plays similar style as DeAndre Ayton, right?
That pick and roll,
pick and roll, solid defense, and
probably that's good. Hands.
But yeah. And, JaVale is going to bring championship mentality. He's won chips with Golden State. He's won chips with the Lakers. So, but that being the most impressive move, like,
you didn't say impressive. You said your favorite. What move I like the best?
Okay, you're right.
Hey, I learned. I read the questions very carefully. I said, "What is the exact wording? I don't want to be messing it up again."
The fact that that's the move you like the best is ridiculous.
They're the best team in the NBA, the Suns, baby.
Oh man, obviously Chris Paul is his favorite player, guys. If you don't realize why, the Suns backup center for the Suns is his most favorite move. I think for me, it's the Kyle Lowry move to Miami. I think the Miami Heat were desperate for a point guard, and they got
Yeah.
their point guard. I know we spoke last week or maybe a few weeks ago. You were telling me, I didn't know this, that Lowry and Jimmy Butler are really good
Yeah, they're
friends.
good friends. Yeah.
So I think that's going to work out extremely well. Obviously, we're going to talk about the teams that we think did really well, but that move I think is exactly what they need to get back into that top three with
Him
the
and Bam.
Nets in Milwaukee. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
man.
Yeah, sorry.
As far as just like being able to compete again, right? Because
Yeah.
Milwaukee and the Nets have kind of separated themselves as far as the moves that they made last season. And I think Miami definitely needed to make a move because if they came back with the same team, they were not going to be able to compete. So making a move like Kyle Lowry, going out there, signing them for 3 years, at 30 million. Dude, these old guys are still getting money,
paid.
man.
Yeah.
Like
Chris Paul, like he's getting
Yeah.
30 million for the next 4 years. Till be
And
40.
I know. I saw some weird stat or some crazy stat that like after like his year 40, when he's 40 years old, he would have made like just under $500 million in just contracts, bro.
That's insane.
And we're not even talking about State Farm money. We just talking about
we're just talking about basketball money, right?
How do you feel like these? I think it's I think with science and technology and the way these guys are taking care of themselves too, I imagine these guys are still going to be productive players like later on in their contract. Maybe not like the superstars that they used to be.
As explosive, you know what I mean? But I think because both of them have solid jumpers. I mean, Chris Paul's jumper is just money. It always has been. But Lowry's isn't like weak either. And he's still a smart defensive player. The only thing, they just probably won't be able to get by people with that first step. You know what I mean? But they're still savvy veterans. So I don't see it hurting them too much. Look at Luis Scola, who's like 8,000 years old playing over there in Europe, and he's still getting buckets like nonstop. Like you can't stop him. So
I mean, it's a little bit different game
over there. But the fact that he can still prolong it, like, and keep playing, I bet you can come over here and get buckets in 10 minutes a game.
That's a future Spur because those are the perfect Spur type players. But let's talk about a few other moves. What else did you like that about this offseason so far?
Oh man, the other moves that I like this offseason, I mean, I've liked. We might get into some of my other answers here, but I like the Bulls. I like some of the stuff the Bulls have done. You know what I mean? Like this, bringing in DeRozan is kind of weird because him and Levine are kind of the same player, but I think it could work out in the sense like, DeRozan can be their half court player because he really improved his pick and roll game in San Antonio. His passing numbers went up. So if in transition you got Lonzo and Zach LaVine handling that, pushing the tempo stuff, but when the game slows down, it's like, all right, now DeRozan and Vooch, it's your turn to run the offense. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like I feel like that's a good what's a
combination?
Combination. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, and I think that really works because Lonzo is there, and I think Lonzo is going to really break out in with the Bulls because this is the best team that he's been on as far as the type of pieces that really fit with him. Because, like you said, I think with a guy like Levine, he's going to be able to run that transition game with him, and we're going to see some pretty crazy alley oops, with him, and then Lonzo is like the fourth, maybe even fifth option scoring wise, like Vucevic, Levine, DeRozan are all going to be considered more, scoring. So like Lonzo's going to get a lot of open looks. He's really going to have a lot of people to be able to pass the ball to. And this is the first, like, I guess, spot that he's going to be in where he's not competing against anybody to take the ball down, right? And when he was with the Lakers, LeBron, he had to compete with LeBron. When he was with the Pelicans, he had to compete with Ingram. He is the ball handler on this team, right? Everybody else is more play off the ball. So I think this is going to really give him the confidence to be like, I am the point guard of this team. We already kind of know he's not the superstar scorer. He's not that aggressive guy, but he could play in that where he could just feed guys. That's what he loves to do, and I think this is going to be a great opportunity for him.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And then his jumper too. Like I haven't seen his new form or whatever, but from what I've heard on other podcasts and stuff, like his form looks completely nice. Like, before it was coming from the side of his face and he's shooting it over this way. It's like an actual jumper now. Like,
Right.
and so I'm excited to see that. Right. Like,
Pioneer Joe, time for my brown brother. Sorry, North Tortillas. Brandon is as white as they come, my guy. Brandon is white from Ohio. Like,
one, I'm from South Carolina. First of all, I don't appreciate any of that stuff.
That isn't white either, but like.
But I'm just American. I don't claim any.
I love it, but I am all the way brown, Pioneer. So thank you. And you're right. I'm not the brown that has tortillas. We have roti and naan and stuff like that. But yeah, man. Brandon, tell me, what do you feel like was the most surprising move to you?
The most surprising move. Wait, hold on. Let me check my notes real quick. I don't remember that. I'm lying. Melo to the Lakers.
Ooh, why?
Yeah, why was that the most surprising? Because for years Melo was without a team, and LeBron could have like helped out his boy. And he did not. He let this fool just wallow like in no man's land, and everybody's just slandering. Melo can't play. Melo can't play. And now, when Melo probably really can't play anymore, his jumper's still going to be money. Don't get me wrong, but he can't guard. He couldn't guard anybody when he was young, so it's only getting worse. Like, why would you bring this Melo to the Lakers team? Because unless it works out, it makes Melo look bad. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was like talked about a lot, so I wasn't too surprised. I think because Kuzma left, it gives that need for that punch, like that scoring punch off the bench at the power forward. So. Yeah, but I think people just kind of sleep on. I mean, Carmelo isn't like a great defender, but he's still a big body. He's still like his resistance. You know what I mean? And Frank Vogel as the coach does pretty good as far as keeping the Lakers disciplined, as far as just making sure everybody like is in the right position. Yeah. And bringing back Dwight Howard. So now you have AD in the starting lineup to be able to like be the rim protector there. And then, for the 15 minutes that Dwight's going to be playing, he's going to be the rim protector. So that's something that the Lakers severely missed in the second unit, because a guy like Trez wasn't like a rim protector, and obviously Gasol is far like he's not the same defensive guy that he was earlier in his career. So I wasn't too surprised, just because Melo's done an amazing job like at the spot up 3-pointer, right? He shot 40% last season, and the Lakers needed guys that could shoot that were cheap, and Melo fit both of those.
Absolutely.
My most surprising move was the Knicks giving all that money to Evan Fournier, because I thought that the Knicks were going to make a big splash. Everybody was talking about they had the most cap space. They had, they obviously needed a starting point guard. They were a team that's ascending. They're playing in Madison Square Garden. All of these things pointed to like a big offseason. And to get Evan Fournier as the guy you gave all that money to, I mean, obviously Kemba came off after a buyout, but that was the move. It's like,
so that's fair. But you know why he got paid, right? He got paid because he destroyed Team USA in that game. Fournier is tough for me because in Orlando he was always pretty solid, right? Like he was always good. It's just for whatever, I mean, and this what you want from your star player, which he was supposed to be in Orlando, at least that's how he was getting paid, is you need him to show up in the playoffs, and Fournier wasn't doing that. So to pair that with Randall, who also didn't show up, it kind of surprised me a little bit too, but I didn't think it was terrible. Like I didn't think the money they gave him was so ridiculous. Like Norman Powell for the Blazers got $5 and $90. Like I feel like that was way more ridiculous money. Like I'd rather have Fournier than Powell at that kind of money, I guess.
I guess for me, I don't really see that move making the Knicks any better.
I don't think it's going to make them any better. I think it'll keep them where they are. You know what I mean? Like it was just the kind of move to help keep them in the playoff race, right? Like,
which to me is
for New York though, it's huge.
Right? Well, and then they bring in Kemba. I mean, I just feel like they needed like a distributor And they don't have all their point guards, all their guards are like score first options. Like, you know, Derrick Rose, Kemba, now Evan Fournier. You know what I mean? It's just like RJ Barrett. Like, you got the same player over and over and over again. And we know why they lost to Atlanta, right? They were too in the playoffs. This whole just give the ball to one person and hope they could beat their man. You know, defense is too tough in the playoffs to be able to play that style of ball, unless you're a guy like Kevin Durant. But even them, like, you saw how tired Kevin Durant got doing that game after game after game, ended up causing them the series. So to me, that was really surprising, just because it seemed like the Knicks were moving in the right direction, and then it was like, man, the Knicks being the Knicks, right? They could have got a guy like Spencer Dinwiddie. They could have got a guy like,
I don't think that they could have got Dinwiddie. I don't think Dinwiddie wanted to go there. Otherwise, I don't see why they wouldn't have thrown money at him. Or maybe they were kind of worried about him still coming off that injury.
Sure, but I just think there were so many options, right? Like, and as far as point guards,
who else was out there? That's a distributor, though. I think
Lowry. They could have overpaid for Lowry. They could have.
I think
I don't know. That's what I'm saying. Like,
I think a lot of free agents are scared to go to New York still because of Dolan. So, I mean, because that guy, he's not a very good owner. Like, from what I've read about stuff, and so I think free agents aren't really ready to go there. Like, if they continue to build in this process, let's say they make the playoffs again and they make it for the next couple of years, and they continue to do moves where they're not screwing guys over and they are trying to build that winning culture. And then let's say they make the trade for the star from there. Like, right now, they're just building assets because Fournier's money, it's not ridiculous money, but it's just enough to where you can package him with maybe like one of their young guys and get one of these stars that are making really good money. And now, once you've got that star in there, he's like, man, we've got this winning culture here. Let me get some more guys to come here. Like, why don't
that make sense? Maybe it's like the plan is more than just 2 years.
Yeah.
But I just expected, they had the most money cap space, and I thought they'd make a bigger splash, and they didn't. So that was kind of the most surprising move to me, at least. Let's move on, man.
Yeah.
So let's talk about
real quick. I want to go back to one thing we were talking about at the top of the show here. We were talking about super teams and everybody building super teams. Mm-hmm. And I was going to say it's kind of surprising to me still, I guess, because Giannis just won without a real, like, quote unquote super team. Right. Like, he was kind of the lone wolf. He had 2 all-star caliber players, but they weren't considered top 15 dudes. Mm-hmm. And he still won. So it just surprises me that no other teams are thinking we can do this without doing super teams.
Well, see, here's the thing. I think that this year was kind of fluky to some people so the people that are still chasing the super teams. Giannis didn't have to play a super team because the Nets weren't healthy when he played them. And, obviously the Suns didn't have to play the Lakers at full strength. So I think some people are like saying this was kind of a year where injuries played a role. So the Bucks ended up being just like the healthiest team. The Suns ended up being, more healthy of team. So they ended up in the finals.
Attrition season.
Yeah. So I think, do you think the Bucks win that series if Kyrie's healthy?
I wouldn't say this year or this championship they won. Let's say Kyrie was healthy. I don't think so, because I think Giannis still had that monkey on his back, right? Like, there was just a ton of pressure. It's like, I need to win one. I've got all these other accolades, but I've yet to do this one thing that basketball people feel makes you make it. You know what I mean? And now that he's done it, now that he's going to play free, I'm kind of scared. Like, I feel like it has the potential for a Jordan-like run where he's just like, fuck it, I'm never going to lose again. And I'm just
his mentality is different. I think he's most built like the old school superstars that we usually like. Right. Like, he has that killer instinct, whereas, like, that's why I love Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler has that killer instinct as well. And, Giannis has that. And, he's putting it out there. He's like, it'd be easy for me to just go to a super team. He's saying the things that we're thinking about. He's saying them out loud. And he's saying it kind of taking shots at these other guys. These guys that he's compared to, LeBron, Kevin Durant, Steph Curry. You know what I mean? Like he's taking shots being like, yo, I did it without any of these guys. You did it with these guys.
All these guys.
You know what I mean? And so like I like that. And when you're talking like that, that means you have to back it up. And
absolutely have to.
I think he's going to put in the work to keep it moving. So yeah, I like that. And but I think still, you know, you got to compete. You know, you got like I don't know, like we'll see next season how the Bucks compete against like teams like Miami, teams like the Nets if they could stay healthy, because those are, you know, that's tough. You know, they're gonna. I think those teams might have leveled up a little bit. Definitely the Nets, right? If the Nets get a whole season of everybody working together.
Picked up Patty Mills. I really liked that pickup. I didn't have it in there as a move that I liked, but I thought it was a really smart move because he's a savvy veteran point guard. He's not afraid of anything, and he can shoot the lights out of the ball.
Right. And if they could get a competent big man,
they got Claxton,
but I'm saying like a rim protector, like somebody that could be. I mean, they got DeAndre Jordan too, but I feel like they're missing.
Jordan's washed.
Yeah, I feel like if they could get like which you know, just like a JaVale McGee, or if they got a guy like Dwight Howard who could give you 15, 20 minutes off the bench and like just really hone in on defense.
There was a bunch of those centers out there this year.
They're available. That's what I'm saying. So I think once they get that piece, you know, they're going to be pretty. I mean, they're already tough to beat. I think they become even tougher to beat.
They're so scary.
Right.
They're be a scary team. Sorry, I threw us off topic, man.
Man. We need it. We need it, bro. Like this goes where it needs to go, man. This goes where it needs to go.
We do what we want.
This is just an outline, really. These are just suggestions, to be honest. All right, so let's talk about winners, man. What's your winner? Name a couple winners and let's go through them in free agency.
My first winner, which I only picked one, but I can make up more as we go. The Warriors.
Okay. Why?
Why? Because they not only did through the draft did they build for the future, right? Like who they get, Kuminga and oh my god, now I can't think of the other cat's name.
It starts with an M.
Was it Moody?
Moody.
So whoever their 2 draft picks were, they were building towards the future, right? Like everybody kind of thought they would pick guys that could play right away. But these were more potential type guys. And they went out and signed some veterans. They got Bielitsa from the Heat, formerly on the Kings, who also played for the Timberwolves. But I love this dude. He's 3'4".
Is that how you pronounce it? I thought it was like Belica. I was like, who are you talking about?
Hey, and the only reason I can pronounce it is because I'm 1 drink deep. Like if I was 3 or 4, it would have been a mess.
You're like Bjorn.
Yeah. I'm a potato. But he's got some toughness to him, man, and he can shoot the 3. You know what I mean? He's a smart player. He might get picked on a little bit on D by quicker dudes because I don't think he's like that nimble or that like fleet of foot. But other than that, like he's going to be a really good pickup for them. He's going to move the ball. He's not going to try to pound the ball into the ground. And then they got Otto Porter, who I feel if he's healthy, that's a huge pickup for him because that allows the one thing I want is for Klay to be able to stay at the 2. I don't want him to have to guard bigger dudes, even if he is fully healthy. So to get Porter there, who I think is a solid defender, he can shoot the ball and he doesn't really need it. Like he's a pretty unselfish guy. It was just the money that he was making was crazy. Like he was getting paid like a 1 or a 2, and he's clearly like a 3 or a 4 option. And that's what he's going to be here. So I think those were phenomenal moves. So not only did they build for the future, they were able to build for today as well.
So when I look at this question and who won, I'm looking at who gave themselves the best chance, like to win a chip this season.
Oh, Warriors can still win a chip this season. Don't count out Curry, bro.
So you think those moves made them like closer to winning a championship?
They were already close. The only thing all they needed was Klay to come back.
Okay,
that's all they needed.
So I think the team that won free agency, I think Miami's up there. But the team that I'm going to be talking about is LA all day, baby. Them Lakers. All right. The Lakers
How do I sign out of this?
Free agency. And let me tell you why. One,
The
you know,
most
we did a show like 3-4 weeks ago where we were talking about the Russ trade. Maybe it was like 2-3 weeks ago. Have you been watching all of these like pundits? What they're saying about the Russ trade? What does it sound very similar to?
Yeah, all that nonsense you were saying.
I'm like, I literally watched Nick Wright on the Colin Cowherd show?
Yeah.
And literally like
verbatim.
Like point like in the order that I talked about it with you. I'm like, he must have seen the show.
He's watching.
No way.
He's watching.
Because like everything, he's like, you know, Russ is gonna keep these guys healthy. He's gonna like, and like, you know, he just went off about all that kind of stuff. But the reason why I think LA won is because they were strapped, right, with cap space. They didn't have many trade assets. So like going into free agency, people were like, how's this team going to get better? They're stuck. Remember when people were talking about what the Lakers were going to do? It's like, all you could do is re-sign your guys, re-sign Schroeder, re-sign Caruso, re-sign THT, because you really can't make any impact moves and sign people that are going to be able to be impact because you only had the mid-level exception. Well, now look at the team. They were able to go out and get Russ for basically one starter, and they were able to bring back like 3 second-round picks with that. Then they go out and just sign every former Laker that was available. You know, they got Trevor Ariza, who was still like, you know, not obviously.
He's a mummy, bro. That fool. He better be their fifth man. Like, let's move that.
These are. I don't think they signed any starters that are coming in. I think they signed like depth.
Some bench players.
Bench players. Yeah. So like Trevor Ariza is going to be, a good two-way player for them. Shoots 35% from three. Then they got Wayne Ellington, shoots 42% from
Can't
three.
Play defense though, but it's fine.
It's okay. It's okay. We're looking for shooters. The Lakers were already number 1 in defense, bro. They were number 23 in.
They traded away their whole team that played the defense for them. But
Trez is not a good defensive player. Kuz is and KCP was, obviously one great and losing Caruso, obviously. But let me keep going with my rant. All right. So like we got Wayne Ellington, 42% shooter. Kent Bazemore, 41% shooter. Carmelo, 40% shooter from three. And then everybody's like, oh, they're ancient. Dwight Howard comes in. He's pretty old too, but brings back that energy and like that like tenacity that the Lakers really thrived off of the championship run that they had 2 years ago. So bringing him back, I think, is going to be huge as far as a backup center. And then they got like pieces that I didn't think was possible. Kendrick Nunn is a really good piece for them. He played really good basketball for the Miami Heat when he was called on, when, Dragic was injured. He played really well. Getting Malik Monk, I think, was pretty awesome. He's obviously shot really, really well from 3-point. And then re-signing Talon Horton-Tucker on, a pretty team-friendly type deal. As far as, if he doesn't pan out, he'd be a great trade asset. Mm-hmm. I think that they've done wonders. And to think they have 3 more spots to fill, and they really are going to be going after big guys that could, shoot. And
Gasol's back too.
Gasol's back.
He's back. He opted in.
Gasol's back.
You're a Gasol hater though.
I mean, I just think he's not.
No.
He's not consistent enough, man.
He's there to make AD and LeBron better. He said, I'm not a star anymore. I'm here to make these guys better. And if you look at their numbers when he's on the floor, he does. But go ahead.
And he started playing a lot better near the end of the season. So I think, especially now that they have like bodies that they could throw that are big. Trez had a hard time playing because he's like shorter than AD. You know what I mean? So it's like AD plays better when there's a big body next to him. So now with Gasol and having Dwight Howard there, I think that's good. I've heard rumors of maybe Hassan Whiteside coming but he just signed with Orlando.
Yeah.
That didn't. I mean,
no, it wasn't Orlando.
The Jazz.
Yeah, the Jazz.
That didn't make sense to me.
I forgot all about that.
But I think that the Lakers have done a lot with what people thought they've done what people didn't think was possible. And once again, it's Pelinka and LeBron teaming up together to be able to go out there and maneuver and do things that people didn't think were possible. So I'm a big fan of what they did. I think they became better. And like I said, as long as they stay healthy, they're one of the top threats at winning a championship next season. And they only have maybe a 1-2 year window because, eventually Father Time is going to, beat up on LeBron. LeBron obviously is like fending it off better than anybody else has. But, I think, 2 years from now, it's going to be a different story. But for the next 2 years, the Lakers are in there.
So real quick question that I have. When LeBron does finally crash, like when Father Time finally does catch up to him, do you think it's going to be like it's just going to be a hardcore crash, or will he slowly like decline?
I think it's going to be a slow decline, but whether it's a crash or not is going to be based off of how the Lakers build around him. Okay. Because if the Lakers just fall off a cliff, it's going to happen like what happened with Kobe, right? They went from contending in the playoffs and all that kind of stuff to just like not even being able to sniff the playoffs. And it made Kobe's decline look worse than maybe it would have been if he had help that could have like kept them competitive, right? So I think the same thing was going to be for LeBron. If he has a good enough team around him, he's going to move into just less of a, like more of just a distributor, more of just a spot up shooter, not somebody that needs to take over the game, but they need to keep somebody next to him that can be that take over the game type player. So it doesn't make him look as
well. I think that's what Russ is supposed to do, right? Like that's why they bring Russ in, because for whatever reason, AD doesn't do it all the time, right? Like he's kind of in and out with it. And I don't know why. That's kind of weird because I feel like there's times in the Pelicans, like this dude looked like he was going to be unstoppable. And he kind of looked like he brought it every night. Or maybe it was just because I didn't watch him all the time. Or I
just don't think he's internally motivated as much as like killers need to be. He played really well when he had like great leadership. Like those years that he was showing out, Rondo was on that team. And so like, I think that's what I don't think he's just like that internally motivated type guy. He needs somebody that could bring it out of him. So
Russ is though. And I didn't hate the Russ thing. I mean, secretly, I just want Russ to win a ring. So if he can win one with the Lakers, like I'm all for it. As long as the Nets don't win, I don't really care.
Wow, the Nets have actually become
they've supplanted like my number one enemies. Yeah, I cannot bear to see that Nets team win one. But my only concern was playoff wise, because like you just said, like defense gets way different in the playoffs. And so when I was talking about like needing the shooting or having like enough guys out there that can shoot, at least be a threat to shoot. Like that's because we know they're not going to hit as much because the defense is better. And so that was my only concern and my only knock on Russ actually going there.
But I think that's what I say. That's why I think they're one of the winners, is because they've got like everybody they brought in is a better shooter than they had last season, right? So, obviously everything is on paper right now. It's still yet to be seen how the chemistry works and all that kind of stuff. But at least on paper, their 3-point shooting has gone up drastically, way better.
And that Monk pickup was huge because he was looking real good in Charlotte down the stretch right before he got another little like nagging injury that kept him out, but. That dude, he looked like he got his confidence back. And I remember I think I was either reading an article or I was listening to him with somebody talking about like his development and how in the beginning it was a struggle, but the Hornets stuck with him. They believed in him. They kept giving him playing time. And that really boosted his confidence, especially when they got that new coach. Was it Borrego? Whenever Borrego came in and he just like told him like, these are the things we've got to do. And he's like, I continue to work on them. And all of a sudden, like it just kind of clicked for him. And so if that click continues in the Lakers system, when he's just going to get wide open look after wide open look, that's going to be scary. Legit scary.
For sure. Another team that I talked about, Miami Heat, I think that they're big winners because they needed a point guard, right? They played really well when Dragic was healthy in there. And I think obviously Lowry is an upgrade from Dragic. I think that team is going to be dogs on defense, right? With Lowry, Jimmy Butler,
Butler,
and
Bam
Bam.
Adebayo,
Yeah, so and PJ Tucker,
Tucker
so
too.
that's going to be probably the one. If that might, I actually will call it right now. I think that's going to be the best defensive team in the East for sure. It might even be the best defensive team in the league, just because you have
Can they score enough to beat the Nets though?
Can anybody score enough to beat the Nets, right? So
Warriors.
Possibly. I mean, there's probably
Not possibly, bro. There's like
the defense. There's going to be no defense in that type of scores. That might be that might be the first 180 to 178 type game.
How bad do you think Draymond nut checks fucking KD? Do you think he comes with like the full on karate kick, or does he give him just like the little tap like he gave LeBron?
You know what? I think KD's different, bro. I think Dre won't go at KD.
You don't think so?
I think KD will cut him.
No, KD. KD's so soft.
I think KD really is really has guys that run with him in the streets, and I don't think Draymond wants any of that smoke.
First of all KD's gonna do is get on a burner Twitter account. I don't know. He's gotten pretty ballsy. He's been using his own Twitter account,
right,
and just slander and stuff. But nah, KD ain't about that life. He don't want that.
But look. The Golden State Warriors aren't going to make it to the finals to play the Nets. So
you get out of here, bro. If Clay comes back at least even 80%,
they're beating your Suns?
No, nobody's beating the Suns.
You're like contradicting yourself. Everything
you can't ask me a question like and have me be non-partial and then throw out another question. You know you're gonna get biased. Like nobody's beating the Suns.
Mango still thinks it's the Bucks.
Giannis comes out crazy.
Giannis
is so unbeatable.
Yeah, there's nobody on the Nets that could slow him down either. So that's like a thing.
He looks like Embiid through like the first 3 quarters. You know what I mean? But he just keeps it up for a 4th quarter. Like, somebody should probably tell Embiid you got to play 4 quarters. Like,
and this is without him even like each year he's gotten better and better at shooting.
Yeah,
this is like he still doesn't have a shot, like
no shot
yet. You know what I mean? But he's like getting better at it. And in the playoffs, dude, he was shooting like that closeout game. What do you go 15 for 17 from the free throw line?
From the free throw line, and not only that, like I feel like his handle in the net series looked terrible. I felt like it was just clunky, like 1-2 dribbles and couldn't do anything. By the end of the Hawks series, because the Hawks series he got injured by the end. At the 2nd or 3rd game of the Sun series, this was doing these in and out between his legs, like sizing people up with the crossover. I was like, oh, when did this happen? Like, did he just fake an injury so he can go learn how to dribble real quick and he came back? Like, what happened here?
I mean, I think he's one of the hardest workers in the NBA, especially for a superstar. Like,
considering he's only played basketball for 10 years,
right?
That's pretty impressive.
And he just like his mentality. Like I said, I always go back to his mentality. Like, he's the closest thing to Kobe to me, mentality wise, in the league right now, just because he like even though he's already probably considered the best player in the game right now, he still wants to get better, right?
Yeah, he's not settling on that.
Exactly.
That's not all he wants. Yeah,
exactly. But once again, you cut me off from my rant. So Miami being one of the winners is I think their defense has elevated. And a really under the radar type re-signing was Victor Oladipo, right? So he's been oft injured. However, usually the type of injury that he has takes about 1 or 2 years to really come back from. So this is going to be year 3 from him coming back from that injury. And he's probably going to be a guy that comes off the bench and only play be that super 6th man. And if they could get anything out of him, 80% of what he's capable of on offense, mixed with Tyler Hero, mixed with, some of these other guys that are going to be coming off the bench, that team has multiple different ways to beat you. And especially when you have that type of defense, lockdown defense, they're going to be a tough out, for anybody, including, the Nets and Milwaukee. I think that's a tough 7-game series for any of them, just because of, one, the heart of Jimmy Butler and Kyle Lowry, and then just the pieces that they have there as well. So,
do they still have Dwayne Dedman as their backup big man? Because I feel like that might be the only thing they're missing is a solid backup big man.
I think Dedmon left, but let me see. I think they signed somebody.
Because I think that's probably the only thing literally they're missing. Because Bam, as good as he is, we know he can't go up again. He can't bang with Embiid for a full 48, 36 minutes. And are they going to run Bam? They're going to just start him at center. They're going to go straight with the lineup of death and let Bam be their small ball guy.
Probably.
All right. I mean, I don't know.
He re-signed. He 1 year deal.
Okay. Yeah. So no, it should be all right then. I like that team then. Because I like Dedmon as a cheap backup. I think in Atlanta for a little bit he was kind of an overpaid starter, and he was making like that $10-15 million money, and I was like, no, that's too much for a dude that puts up backup numbers playing like 25-30 minutes. Like you can't do that. But he's there again on the cheap. I'm with it.
All right, let's go to the opposite, man. What team lost in free agency?
The Celtics.
Oh man, you asked, dude. That was gonna be my pick. I had no idea you were actually gonna say it. Let's go. A moment of honesty from Brandon Campbell.
Oh man, what are they doing? Dude. Like, there's nothing going on there. They brought in that trash player, Josh Richardson. He's oh my god! I hate every move they've made.
I mean, you like the Al Horford move.
Yeah, that one's not terrible, but that was before free agency.
Right.
Ever since, it's just been Josh Richardson, but I like Enes Kanter as a player. I don't like him for them.
Yeah,
there's a time.
They've already tried that.
Yeah, and so why are we going back to it? Yeah, I can't get behind anything they've done. I don't know what they're doing. I've listened to some pods today, and they were saying something about like, oh, they're waiting on Bradley Beal to make some move for that, but why? I don't even think Bill's like the right spot for them, especially if they're going to have to give up Brown for Bill. There's no way in hell I'd do that. I don't care if him and Tatum are best friends.
I just don't understand these teams that don't have a true point guard distributor. Like, what do they like? Don't they realize how much easier that makes? Especially like they have such great talent on there with Tatum and Brown. Like,
there's not enough point guards left, man.
Yeah, but I'm saying like they've had years to figure this out. This is just 1 year of a microcosm of what the Celtics have been in my eyes for a long time. Like they could have gone out and went hard when they had all these assets to go after a guy like AD, to go after a guy like Kawhi, to go. They stockpiled all of these things and they got nothing out of it, right? And so to me, I agree with you. I think they're the biggest losers. I think they, by doing nothing, have dropped in their position in the East because I think Miami solidified themselves to be better than them.
Yep.
Nets, obviously, we already thought. Milwaukee, we already thought. And I think the Celtics are going to be, and
the East is going to be a lot tougher now too.
Yeah, absolutely. The Bulls I think, are going to be better. Hopefully Rick Carlisle could do something with that talent in Indy because they have like a good squad on there. Yeah, they just need to figure out how to pull that out. Charlotte is on there, ascending with, you know what I mean? And so like the Knicks, Atlanta, so like the East is not like that. There's no, I mean, there's going to be those games that are like buys, like Cleveland and stuff like that. But in that top 8 to 10, there's like no gimmies, you know what I mean? So
it's going to be as cutthroat as the West normally is. You know what I mean? Well, I mean, on paper,
West I think goes deeper, but definitely at like the top 8 is going to be pretty tough in the East.
You don't think you can go down? Well, I mean, I guess maybe not 10. All right. Well, so for a change, it'll finally be the way the playoffs are normally supposed to be. All 8 teams are going to be competitive.
Right.
Which is the way it's been in the West for the longest.
It's going to be actually you have to have a winning record to make the playoffs.
Yeah. You're not getting in under 500. There's just no way. It's not going to happen.
So going back to the Celtics, like, how do you not see this? Like, what? Like, I didn't understand the whole moving the coach to the GM. Because, like, what makes it? This guy already couldn't do what he needed to do with the team that he had. Now you're gonna put him in charge of personnel and talent. Like,
bringing in people. Yeah. And so far, it doesn't. I don't like the way it looks. You know what I was just thinking though, because you're talking about getting a good distributor for that team. Who I would really like for them now that you just got me thinking about it is Ricky Rubio. right? Like,
and he was available.
Now he's on the Cavs.
Right.
He got traded for oh my God. I liked him. He used to play for the Hawks. No, sorry. Maybe it was the Nets. Oh my God, I can't think of his name.
I'll look it up, but keep going. Keep
Yeah.
going. Why you think
Anyways,
Rubio would be a good fit?
so Rubio to the Celtics would be perfect because he can move the ball. He's a true point guard, and he doesn't really need it, right? Like he's not going to be like, oh, I need the ball. I need all these shots, and so that just frees up more shots for Tatum and Brown. But he can also get shots if he has to, right? Because
Right.
he's good in transition. He can get to the bucket, and he'll come off screens. I mean, he won't always make that 3-point shot, but it's gotten steadily better. And he just put up
Sneaky
buckets against Team
defender,
USA.
sneaky steal. Like
Yeah.
he get a lot of steals. The guy you were talking about is Torian Prince.
Torian Prince, that's right.
Yeah, and I mean, I just feel like obviously they got Marcus Smart there, but Marcus Smart is more of like just a two guard. He's like Patrick Beverly, a better version of I think Patrick Beverly because he's more consistent with his shot. But yeah, I've been down on the Celtics for a while. You know that. And obviously there's the rivalry with the Lakers, but I just think that they could have been so much better if they made smarter moves. And I just think
if Kemba would have panned out, I don't think that they would have needed to make smarter moves. You're right though, like they had a bunch of assets and they never pulled the trigger on anything. They really jacked that up. But I really like the combination of Tatum and Brown because both of those guys are what every team wants, right? Young athletic wings that can score and defend. The only thing they can't do is move the ball. They're like a young version. Not that they're as good. I'm not saying that. But like what the Clippers should be with Kawhi and PG.
Right.
That's what the Celtics have right now with Tatum and Brown. Right.
And they're missing the same thing that the Clippers are missing.
A point guard.
Point guard. And so like, yeah, I agree with you. I think that should have been their main focus. They should have been going hard at a guy like Lowry. They should have been going hard at a guy like Mike Conley Jr. Like they could have been going hard at Chris Paul. You know what I mean? Like so
that, yeah.
So I mean,
I don't think Chris Paul will ever go east though.
Yeah, probably not. And I mean, maybe they were trying, but my guess is they probably weren't because
I don't think
I've never seen them do like a smart move a day in my life. So,
hey, they got a point guard. His name was Kyrie Irving at one point in time.
That's true.
He did not work out at all.
But once again, same with Kemba. They got score first point guards. I'm talking about a distributor first. You already got scoring. Like you don't need scoring. You need distributors.
We're gonna need to do this on one of our basketball shows here that you have. Go through the list of like who are true distributing point guards now. I know we kind of did it the last time Esteban was here, but we really need to do it.
Yeah, we'll do some research and put it together.
With the current league guys.
Yeah.
No, that'd be fun.
Another team that I think lost is Utah. And once again, by staying pat, like you've already been embarrassed 2 playoffs in a row.
Yeah.
You know, being the number 1 seed and then, you know, not performing like a number 1 seed. And what did you do to help out Donovan Mitchell? You brought
what they did?
What they do?
They brought in another center that can't play in crunch time.
a center that couldn't even make the rotation in Sacramento.
Yeah.
So I just think, even with Mike Conley being there, even if he's healthy, obviously I think that helps. But they brought in no more scoring. They didn't bring in I don't know. They're just running it back with the same squad pretty much. And you just saw what the Lakers did. You see what Golden State's bringing back. You see what the Suns are doing. I just don't see why they feel like they're in me. Denver is getting, some guys back. They made some moves.
I didn't know Murray wasn't coming back until even later in this year.
He might not. They're not even sure he's going to come back, So there's a chance he might not come back.
He was not that long.
So I think Utah being in the position that they were in, not going all in for somebody that could be a game changer for them, I think was a big deal. And they just doubled down, right? They gave big money to everybody, so they're locked into this team for a while. So they're my other losers out of the West.
So my other loser is Portland. because they did worse than stand pat. Like they, oh no, they didn't get anybody. They didn't do anything.
They just
They
re-signed
got
Powell, basically. That's the only move.
re-signed Powell. They
Lost
they lost
Carmelo.
Zach. They lost Carmelo. That was what it is. I was like, I know they lost somebody. They lost two guys. They lost Carmelo, who was their third leading scorer, right? So it's like, now where do those points come from? And then they lost Zach Collins. I know he was not a big minutes guy, but he was always like the promise of, hey, Zach Collins is going to be healthy one time. He's going to come. He's going to be really good. Now he's gone too. It's like, what have they done?
And Cantor, who played big for them down the stretch as well.
Bro, I thought you said cancer, and I was like, wait, what do you? What
No. Enos Cantor.
Yeah,
Enos
Cantor.
Cantor. Yeah.
So it's just like, what's going on there?
I think they're gearing up for. They're not trying to sign nobody because they know Dame's leaving. So they're like.
So don't sign anybody, but still at least try to make it look like this just says.
I think they're blowing it
Dame
up,
and CJ are gone. Yeah,
I think so. I
they
think
have
they're blowing
to be
it up
swapping them out
because they don't have like really a lot of money into anybody other than those guys. And I guess, is Nurkic on a big deal? I don't know.
I mean, it's a bigger deal, but it should be almost up. I think it's only because he got his extension before Dame and CJ got theirs, only because his contract ended first.
Got you.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I think Dame is gone, man. Like, especially that they didn't make any moves. It's like, why would he stay? Like, the team that he had last season wasn't good enough to do anything, and they just got worse. Like, they lost players. They didn't gain anybody. So, I mean, I think they're just gearing up that Dame's going to be gone, and they'll probably blow that up and just rebuild.
Might as well. They haven't done anything else with that team, so.
I agree. And the last one I have, and we could go out on this one. Which team's stock rose the most?
What do I have for this? Dang. Oh, so this is where I told you made me answer one without.
That's okay.
That was on my list. It was the Bulls. I thought
that was years ago.
The Bulls stock rose the most. Just because I feel like they're going to go from a team that wasn't in the playoffs to this year they're going to make the playoffs, right? Like every other team that was already a playoff team, they were already there, so it's nothing for them. But the Bulls right now, they can potentially finally get out of that drought, start looking like a winning team again. So I'm going with the Bulls there.
I'm 100% with you, man. I think they hands down made the biggest change. You'll probably see them as far as the team that got the biggest movement as far as like wins. They probably have the most wins compared to the last season. And I not only think that they brought in a lot of talent, I'm a lot higher, I think, on how those pieces are going to fit than you are, because I just think Lonzo is going to be able to excel there. And
he's a great glue guy, man. Like he's perfect. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, and especially for what that team needs. They need to have somebody that's going to make sure Levine, DeRozan, and Vucevic has Vucevic get enough touches. And he's a guy that's going to be on the floor, give you solid defense, and doesn't need to score. So when you have that guy as the guy that's dominating the ball, I think that's going to be a huge fit for them. And they got a lot of young guys as far as depth pieces there. And, they'll probably get something for a sign and train with Markkanen whenever that deal goes down. So maybe they bring in somebody else. But, overall, I think that they're going to be – I think they could finish top 5 in the East, to be honest.
I don't know. So, nah, man, the Bucks, Nets, Hawks. Also, another loser is the Sixers because they didn't make any kind of decent moves whatsoever.
And we don't know what the Sixers are going to look like, right? If Simmons is going to be there or not, like
the biggest rumor I just heard today was they geared up they started doing the Warriors trade talks again.
For who?
For Simmons. They didn't say what the pieces were, but Simmons has cut off all communication with Philadelphia. Like he's not talking to them anymore.
Wow.
All communication has to go through the agent. And he's made it known that he wouldn't hate going to the Warriors.
I like that was my, when we talked about the team that he should go to. Bro, I should be Why am I not like getting paid millions of dollars for these NBA takes? Because these guys are getting paid millions of dollars to steal my stuff, and my stuff is on tape weeks ago before anybody was talking about it. But yeah, I think Miami, the Bucks, and the Nets are for sure.
Yeah,
and then you look at Boston, the Sixers, Indy, Atlanta, the Bulls. I think those guys are right in there fighting it out, duking it out for.
I
think
the
Knicks
Hawks might be better than what we're giving them credit for. Because I know we knocked some teams for standing pat, but they were already really good, right? Like, and so now those young guys got a chance to develop and get even better.
Have confidence.
Yeah. So I mean, but it could be the same way that it happened for Boston, like that confidence that everybody thought Boston should have, they slid and went the other way. So I mean,
I think Trey is different, bro. He won't let that happen.
That's fair.
But even if they get the fourth, I think we're fighting for that fifth spot.
Yes,
and okay. I think the 76ers are gonna. I don't know if they're gonna be. I'm not a big Doc Rivers fan. I think he does the littlest with the most.
Right.
And I don't know. Like that team's already fallen apart, and we'll see if whatever they get from the Warriors, I don't think is going to be that great compared to.
It would have to be young guys, right? Like, because you don't want Draymond just because he's the same type of player Ben Simmons is, right? Like, so right. I don't see how that fits there.
I mean, they got to throw in. Mr. Canada. I keep forgetting his name.
Wiggins.
Wiggins is a trade piece in that whatever trade. Like if he's on the team, he's getting traded.
Yeah, and he's just a smaller version of Tobias Harris. So it's like, why do you want that guy there? So I don't. You're right. I don't see what pieces can move to make that happen. I still think the best place for Simmons is Portland, either him and Dame or CJ and him. Like for Portland to stay somewhat relevant, it's got to be one of those two guys going to Philly because that's what's also going to help Philly the most.
If Philly gets Dame, now we're talking about different. As long as they get rid of Doc Rivers, they'll be fine if they have Dame and Embiid and Tobias Harris there.
I think you're sleeping on McCollum a little bit because that guy, whenever Dame is out, like he does next level stuff. And
but I think Dame and I think McCollum and Simmons would probably be better than Dame and Simmons because McCollum could play without the ball as well.
You know what? I can see that. All right,
and Dame needs the ball. So like, so I think that Simmons could benefit from playing with McCollum more than he'd benefit from playing with Dame.
Fair. I'll go with that. I'll give you that one.
My guy, we made it right at an hour pretty much. Oh. Anything else that you wanted to talk about?
Get ready for that B&E podcast coming out hopefully this Sunday.
Let's go. So they're on so the B&E podcast is Brandon and Esteban. He was on the show a couple weeks ago. Mm-hmm. They talk sports, they talk culture, they talk. It's pretty much two drunk guys on a podcast having fun. Really great personalities. Yeah. Definitely worth a listen. Please support them. The B_E_ podcast is actually Brandon's Instagram. So if you have an IG, go follow him there. They post up when the shows are out and all that kind of stuff. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do that. And yeah, I mean, Brandon and I will probably be back on either next Thursday or the Thursday after that, talking about new stuff in the NBA. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Brandon, thank you so much for taking the time.
Appreciate it.
Absolutely. We will catch you guys later. Have a beautiful night.